the words that we use, the language that we use does matter. We don't call it corporal punishment. We call it hitting because it is hitting. And it's the deliberate infliction of physical pain, which is completely unacceptable.
There's no difference from, a child being hit and an adult being hit. Like, if you hit someone, the rule of thumb is it's abuse. It's assault.
Absolutely.
It's assault on another human being.
That's right. Our children have no legal protection against it. It's outrageous.
We have to change
there was
that.
A bill, yes, there was a bill passed, I think at the end of last year, that animal cruelty is a felony, a federal felony. But our children, they can be beaten, brutally beaten in a school, in a public school. And come home
tell me
all
about
with
it.
Bruises and injuries and traumatized, and they can't even get so much as an apology from the school, usually. And even though educators have been arrested on felony child abuse charges, it usually goes nowhere. It ends up being dropped out of their file. There's no record of it. They're practically immune in some places, and this is completely unacceptable. The fact of the matter is corporal punishment, most of it happens in just 4 states in the South, and those states are Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Alabama. There's a whole lot of paddling of children going on there, and it reflects badly on the educators. To me, that says that we need training on how to deal with discipline issues, and that we're lazy, frankly. I don't see how anyone could seriously call themselves or consider themselves to be an educator if that's what they do to children, especially when they know that it doesn't work because the same children are paddled repeatedly. And, like I said, the terror of it, some of these children, we're talking kids in kindergarten, even 4 years old, all the way through high school. There's a lawsuit right now in New Orleans, in Louisiana, I'm not sure if it's New Orleans, where a high school student, he was an athlete, was paddled repeatedly with a paddle called Big Freedia, and there's a lawsuit against that going on. But like I said, usually these lawsuits don't go anywhere, but it does cost taxpayers to try to defend these lawsuits against these school districts. And the whole situation is really frustrating. I've been advocating for children to have the right to a safe learning environment that doesn't include violence against them, hitting them with a wooden board, since 2008. And, the change is coming, and it's just like almost a school district time. We haven't had a state ban it since New Mexico did in 2011. And here in Tennessee, about 2 years ago, there was a law that was passed protecting children with disabilities from being paddled in school. And unfortunately, it is discriminatorily applied and disproportionately affects boys, children with disabilities, students, children in low-income areas, and children, that are Black or maybe Hispanic are paddled more than their peers. And it's not acceptable. We can do better. It doesn't cost anything to ban it. All they have to say is stop hitting the kids, and that's the right thing to do. It's better because it's been found, studies have shown that it's not effective. It does contribute to aggressive behavior and another situation which they call adverse childhood experiences. The short term is ACEs, and that's where, the traumatic experiences that we have when we're children cause us mental and physical health problems over our lifetimes. So we know that this isn't something that we should be doing to any child. And in fact, most of the United States, the majority of school districts in large urban areas in 31 states have had this banned in schools for decades, literally. It has been a non-issue. It's pretty much hands off the kids. But in some of these places in the South, we just can't root it out. And like I said, the obstacle is the politicians. Like here we are in Kentucky, and the same thing happened in North Carolina. It passed the House, this bill. This bill has been gone through the process. This is, I believe, the third time. Students were involved with writing this bill and working with lawmakers, and they were there testifying to the House in Kentucky, the members of the House of Representatives, and the bill did pass there, and it has a lot of support, bipartisan support. There were people there from the medical community in Kentucky and even educators. Everyone is supporting this bill, but now it's made it to the House, and the House chairman there, Max Wise, there was just an article published on March the 5th saying that the bill banning paddling in Kentucky schools is idle, but it's not dead yet. So he's holding off on this, bringing it to a vote, waiting to hear from lawmakers who want to talk to superintendents in their district. And according to the article, there have been just a couple of districts over 12 in Kentucky that used corporal punishment last year, and there were 284 instances of paddling, and most of that happened in eastern Kentucky. But the children's youth advocates there, Kentucky Youth Advocates, have been working on this since 2009, trying to get it banned there. And they're saying it just doesn't work, and it's the opposite of what education is trying to achieve. So I do think that we're making progress, and it's just maddeningly slow. It's taking so long, and we just have to be persistent and, hope for politicians who are more caring about what's going on with our children, because this can reduce, violent crime, domestic abuse, people that are unemployed or have addictions or that end up going to prison. All of those things are considered adverse childhood experiences, and those are some of the negative outcomes that end up costing taxpayers. So it does make sense to deal with this, while the child is in school, and try to do things that are positive behavior supports, like restorative justice, where you find out what's going on with the child. Maybe there are issues at home, and sometimes kids just need to talk. We're not treating children like children. We're punishing them for being children, and that's unacceptable. And it's really unacceptable when animals have more legal protection against being assaulted than a child.
It's absurd, Julie, is what it is. It's absurd.
It is.
I'm just wondering, why is corporal punishment one of the hottest topics widely debated by the federal government, like psychologists, experts, and parents? Why is that? Right?
Because I think it's hidden from view. People don't realize this is still going on. They thought it ended decades ago, and they're so wrong. They don't know. People don't know. And in private religious schools that do receive taxpayer funding, this is going on. People just don't have any idea. It's going on, I think, in 48 states in private religious schools that get taxpayer funding, charter schools. But public schools, it's legal in 19 states, but like I said, most of it happens down in the South. And 4 states account for like 70% of the school corporal punishment. But where I live in Tennessee, most of the school districts here in Tennessee do allow corporal punishment. And sometimes children come home brutalized. I mean, they've got bruises all up and down their body. And I don't know why people don't use common sense. I mean, I wouldn't ever pick up a bored child. And some people are so afraid of lawsuits, they won't even put sunscreen on a child if they're going to be out in the sun or whatever. But yet they'll hit them with a wooden board. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And there are federal bills to ban this. There's been introduced, I think, 6 times. Representative Hastings from Florida is the latest sponsor. It's H.R. 727. And it never makes any progress. It's just sitting there in Congress, but it's a good bill. And like I said, the only holdup here is it's not a priority to our lawmakers. And people don't know about it, so.
Yeah, I think if we got to keep it in the front and center. We have to keep it front and center.
Right.
If you
research it online,
yeah,
you will find that it is constantly in the news. People do research, and people have pushed for these good changes for our children. All of our children deserve to be treated humanely and in a safe environment in school where they're not afraid of being hit by the adult in charge. That's got to be terrifying. I can't even imagine it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's terrifying for a child. They're already intimidated
Absolutely.
because you're an adult and you're taller than them, and then for you to physically harm them and threaten them, you know, intimidate them and assault them day to day.
And they're in pain, and they have to sit there with tears running down their face, humiliated, go back in the classroom, and look to you as being the adult in charge. It's outrageous.
It's irreparable harm.
They're
never going to
certainly
be the
is.
same.
It certainly is. That's
know?
right, and there's no one there to protect them. It's just unbelievable. And we've had so many, you know, professionals come forward and try to advocate on behalf of the children. I don't know why we're having why there's such an issue on this. Politics.
One, you think DCSF would be definitely involved in a situation like this, right? As they are in the case of minorities. You think that they'd be head in on this?
Well,
you know?
Here in Tennessee, you know, several children in the last few years have shown up with bruises, and the state officials at the Department of Children's Services have stated that there is no wrongdoing because the law allows it. It's basically no rules. Anything goes. And they don't protect children. They can come home all bruised or whatever, and you're just basically out of luck if you're the parent.
It's
and
horrific.
So parents go crying to the news, and they, you know, try to warn other parents about it. But the thing is, state law here in Tennessee, for instance, does not even require parental consent. They don't have to call you. They don't have to notify you. They can take your child and hit them with a piece of wood.
And
I know.
You know, it's because of advocates like yourself and Jody Cohen, and is it Haru Cohen as well? Is it Cohen or am I saying their names?
Cohen.
I know
Cohen,
but then there's then there's Coryne. Is that Haru Cohen?
Oh, maybe. Those are people that work on an investigation with ProPublica.
Right, ProPublica, exactly. Yeah, Jennifer Smith. She was one of the other ones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they expose what's going on to the kids in the school.
I love it. I love that they're exposing what's going on with these children. I just don't want to be butchering their names, but I want to definitely say thank you to Stacey Patton and Jody Cohen and Haru Cohen for the work that they've done, and Jennifer Smith and yourself and all the other advocates that are fighting for justice in an unjust society that fails to protect our children from such heinous crimes as assault against their bodies. It's just horrible.
And it matters.
I mean,
That's right. These kids, they're going to be adults in the working world, and they're going to be our future, and we need to show them some respect. The only way you can get a child to respect you is you have to earn it. You cannot get respect through fear and violence. That's not going to happen. If you're treated with fear and violence, you're going to distrust that person, and you're going to be angry, and you're not going to
reproduce that fear.
Punishment was for. Yeah. You're not going to remember what that punishment was for. You're just going to avoid being caught, you know. So that it's ineffective. It's unfair. It's unjust. And it's assault. They would never show that on TV because it would stop in a real hurry. If they had, showed it on the 5 o'clock news, these children being paddled in schools. I think they should have cameras in the school buildings in all the common areas, so that people could just check in and see what's happening with the children.
Exactly, because you got some of these schools they got a closed door policy.
They sure do.
They have a closed door policy where you can't just come in. You gotta let them know that you're coming to these schools.
They'll have you arrested and hauled out of there. That's right. You can't go in there and threaten anyone, which is, I understand that's how it should be, but they do need to be held responsible for the way they treat the kids. And I think that we're moving that direction, but it's just taking time. And it does take people to speak out, and it does take investigative journalists to show what's been happening so that it's more of a common knowledge, and that brings about change. And I think with social media these days, it gives everyone a voice, and we can all share our experiences. And the people that are interested in those experiences can find that online, and we can get together and advocate together, or at least toward the same goal, and that's going to bring about the changes. But I think these federal bills, Representative Ayanna Pressley, that was recently introduced in Congress, in the United States Congress, to try to incentivize moving away from punitive measures in schools with children and trying to encourage more positive